Good afternoon to Professor Maya Dr. Azhar. My name is Shen. I will present the group final project, and our title project is Wonderful More Customer Segmentation. Come to the introduction. The executive of the summary is customer segment is the kind of the application of unsupervised learning, and we using this classification technique, companies are able to target the potential user base by identify the segment of the customer. In this project, we use the K-mean classification, which is the main algorithm for classification and clustering and unlabeled dataset. Next is the project background. The customer segment is the process of the segmenting customer into several groups based on the age, gender, interest, and the miscellaneous spending habit, which help to make the prediction in marketing. And the next one is every customer has the different needs and the requirement, so the company develop the customer segment because they are aimed to the service all the customer appropriately. And with the data collected, companies are able to gain the deeper understanding of the customer preference and the need of the discovering variable market segment to maximize the profit. Next is the objective of this project is to study the K-mean classification technique and way to implement. Second one is to implement the customer segmentation using K-mean classification technique. And the third one is to evaluate the K-mean classification based on the result of the customer segmentation. Come to the project scope. The project scope of our project is to help the wonderful more owner of the marketing manager to easily identify the customer demand and their needs. And this project will help to use the classification algorithm that can divide the customer segment based on the customer base into several groups of the individual that share a similarity in a different way that are relevant to marketing. So through the visualization result, the marketing manager of the mall owner can strategize their marketing technique more efficiently and minimize their possibility of the risk to their investment. So for the project significance, our main motivation is to determine the potential customer base for marketing purpose such as the selling product or and the recommending product to the customer. So we will implement the classification and clustering algorithm to group the customer base, so we are able to have an easier and more effective way in the marketing by having the identified customer group. So come to the expected outcome. Our expected outcome is the customer are segmented into several groups based on the age, gender, interest, and miscellaneous spending habit. Besides, the classification of the data is visualized and can be easily analyzed. So come to the design. The K-mean algorithm is a distance-based algorithm which calculates the distance of the point to decide the cluster of the point. So we have to use the minimize the sum of the distance between the cluster central with the point in each of the cluster. So the K-mean algorithm have 5 steps. We have to decide the number of cluster K and then select the K random point as a centroid. After that, we assign all the points to the nearest centroid to perform the cluster, and we compute the centroid of the newly formed cluster, and the last step is to repeat the step 3 and step 4. So come to the dataset description. The dataset we use for our project is called More Customer, which collected 200 customer data including the gender, age, annual income, and the spending scope. So beside the table we can see we have show the dataset description. The customer ID is a description of the number of customer, gender is the customer gender, and the age is customer age, and the annual income is customer annual income is the value the value range is between till the 137, and the spending score is the customer spending score by the formula pay divided by the income times of the 100. So the value is 1 until 99. So come to the implementation. Implementation of this data set detail we have shown in this picture, and the right one is the prop data for visualization of the dataset details. Next is the clustering data. The clustering, the result of the K-mean is well with the number of cluster, which is 10. The customer is segment based on the annual income, and the spending score is shown in the clustering result by the this graph. Okay. Next is the output of the coding of the elbow curve. From the elbow curve, we can see the value of the WCSS, which is within cluster sum of the square, become the constant from 10 to 13 cluster. So the number of the cluster is more suitable to use is 10, 11, 12, and 13 for the good clustering result. So come to the conclusion. The conclusion for our project is customer segmentation have the potential to allow the wonderful model to address each customer using K-mean, and the customer segment analysis allow them to identify the discrete group of the customer with a high degree of accuracy based on the demographic and the other indicator. And the third one is K-mean is good clustering algorithm that help us to produce a well clustering result. So the last one is we found some of the weakness of the K-mean algorithm when using it for clustering. So we have to conclude some of the strength and the weakness of the K-mean algorithm. The strength of K-mean algorithm is it is very simple algorithm that is used for the beginner to learn the clustering. There are only a few steps to each of the result of the K-mean clustering. It will repeat the process of the finding of the center point, which is called centroid of the cluster, to allow it to minimize the condition variance, so it can produce a good performance and the representation of the data. Come to the weakness of the K-mean algorithm, it requires a number of clusters that we have to insert manually. So we have to use another algorithm of the graph to get the base number of the cluster that we have to use for the K-mean algorithm. So also the weakness, it is the very sensitive to any of the data point. Any of the data point added are able to change the mean value. This means that the K-mean algorithm is not immune to the outlier. Okay. That's all from me. Thank you.